Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my old school chalkboard where we're going to GSD, get shit done. Today's training, this morning session, I do, AM, PM sessions. So my AM session today is going to be single arm dumbbell overhead press, my bread and butter for my delt movements. And we're also going to tackle some tricep press downs. We're basically going to be doing some BFR. That way I don't have to work with heavy loads, and I could get just about the same benefits as I would if I was training with heavier loads. So that is today's morning session. Then later on this afternoon, I'll be squatting with my wife and then doing some leg curls. So today it's trying to see if I could touch 70 pounds on the dumbbell press. And I think last time I got 70s for 3 sets of 10. So today I'm probably I'm gonna repeat the load and see if I could maybe shoot for 11 reps today. With that movement, I would say I try to increase load maybe every 3 or 4 weeks, just kind of depending on how I'm feeling. But I really like to make sure that the movement is really efficient, like the quality, the form, technique is just like rock solid. I don't want that movement to be sloppy because I don't want that shoulder joint getting messed up. So I really try to stick with the load for the same load for about 3 or 4 weeks, see if I could possibly shoot for more reps. Then generally when I'm feeling really good and like I'm hitting about 12 reps pretty cleanly, then I might try to increase the load by 2.5 pounds, and then just kind of take the load or the rep range, I'd say, back to like 8s, and then kind of work my way back up. So that's usually how I like to work with that movement. But just basically I also use a lot of auto regulation. With 30 years of training, I definitely want to use my experience level, and I don't want to be tied to a specific guide. That's just it. Whenever I have a progression scheme in place, it's a guide. It doesn't mean I'm married to it or I'm glued to it. If I need to abort that and go by how I'm feeling in a given workout, then that's what I'm going to do. So today, if those 70s feel not too great, I won't be hesitant to possibly lower the load down, or instead of shooting for 11 reps, maybe I just stop at 8 or something like that. So we'll kind of see how it goes and play it by ear. But yeah, that's about it. So let's get to work.
So before getting into my top sets, I definitely want to warm up my shoulders, especially being that, next month they're going to be 45-year-old shoulders. And over the years, working in an auto plant for 16 years and then 30 years of training, my joints at times can feel like I'm 45. So I definitely want to get myself pretty mobile and pretty warmed up before again jumping into heavier loads. So I do a couple sets with 20 pounds, 15, 20 reps. Then I do another couple sets, 1 to 2 sets with 30 pounds. Again, it could be anywhere between 10 to 15 reps just to get my shoulders nice and warmed up, get some blood flow going in there, and so I'm nice and ready to jump into the heavier loads. So this is my first set, my first top set. 70 pounds. Again, the goal is 11 reps. I was able to complete it, not like over the top easy, but it definitely felt pretty smooth and controlled. So I was really happy with the quality of the movement. And my left shoulder is my dominant side, so my left always feels more comfortable than my right. My right shoulder, it's given me a little bit of issues over the years, and add the fact that it's not my dominant side, like I'm not right-handed, it just makes it a bit more awkward. But I was pretty happy with the way this first set turned out, and I definitely felt like I can continue the workout with 70s and aiming for those 11 reps.
All right, so I wanted to touch on my time in between sets, how I go about it. For me, anyways, I want to ensure that the loads that I'm using and the reps that I'm shooting for is not shortchanged. So if I go into my next set, let's say, where I'm still really huffing and puffing like I am now, I'm pretty winded. I'm potentially shortchanging, the number of reps I'm probably capable of doing just because I'm fatigued. So I don't want to lose that volume. So I want to make sure that when I go into my sets that I'm well recovered. So, if it takes me a minute, if it takes me 2 minutes, 3 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, depending on the movement. Obviously, with overhead press with a dumbbell, I can recover in a couple minutes. I'm usually pretty good. But on, let's say, a set of deadlifts or squats, I may need longer, 5, 6, 7 minutes. If it's a tough set, to be recovered so I can, perform well in that next set. So basically, in a nutshell, I just don't want to shortchange the load or shortchange the number of reps I can do just because I'm fatigued. The goal is not to smash myself into the ground with each workout, through fatigue. I don't correlate progress with fatigue. I correlate progress with the loads I can move and for the number of times I can move it, so the reps.
So moving on to the second set, obviously, it's probably going to feel a little bit harder than that first set. A little bit of fatigue is probably set in. But again, the goal is not to just throw the weight up there and shoot for 11 reps uncontrolled. I always want to make sure that my form and technique is spot on. And even when I get to those grinder reps where at the tail end of the set where it starts to get really tough, I don't want to lose my poise. I don't want to lose focus, because often we might want to use, body English to try to change leverage, or we, seek momentum to kind of, help us with the load. And again, my goal anyway is to ensure that the targeted muscle is doing the majority of the work or all of the work. I don't want momentum and I don't want body English, shifting things, because in a sense it's almost like you could potentially take away volume from that targeted muscle because you're asking momentum and body English and those type things to help you with the movement. So if ever my form starts to break down where, especially on this movement, if I'm using leg drive or I'm really leaning over to one side to try to get the weight up, then I know the load is just simply too heavy and it just makes more sense to lower it down. And not just for the sake of, keeping my volume where I want it to be, but also just to kind of minimize, the risk for injuries. I don't, definitely now, 30 years in the gym, I don't want to end a career with an injury or anything like that. So I make sure I train intelligently and as smartly as I can. And that leads us to my tricep work now with BFR. And the reason I've gone to BFR now for both triceps and for curls is just because of that tennis elbow. And it's something that's probably developed over the years. It wasn't an acute injury or anything like that. It's just developed over the years. So it makes no sense for me to keep trying to smash buys and tries with a sledgehammer, with heavier loads, and just making that injury worse. So here, I'm able to use lighter loads using BFR, and it definitely is going to probably ensure that I'm not really making matters worse with that tennis elbow. So just trying to make sure I train intelligently moving forward so I can stay in the game as long as possible and at a high level. So that is definitely the goal.